Hello. Hi, everyone. How are you guys today? I hope you're having a fantastic Wednesday. It's getting a little chilly out here in Northern California. And I say that with much love because I know some of you guys have snow already. So me saying it's chilly is like, I don't know, it's like 68 degrees today. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to another episode of Your Promotability Factor, where I answer your most pressing questions about getting yourself promoted into a senior executive leadership position. And this week's question actually came to me from Marshall, and she asked, what does executive presidents really mean? I'm super excited to dive into the answer of this question, but just to give you a little bit of an idea, is I think that executive presence, the better way to look at executive presence is how can you become the executive versus how can you act like an executive. So I'm going to share with you today what that difference is. And then that's actually going to describe to you, Marshall, and everybody else watching, how you personally can act like the executive now, or can actually become the executive now versus act like the executive. So it's subtle, but I think you'll enjoy this episode and what I have to say. So what am I doing here? Each week I'm answering your questions that are sent to me. So if you have a question about getting promoted, make sure you shoot me an instant message. Let me know what your questions are and I will answer them for you here live. If you're watching this broadcast and you have a question while I am speaking, please put it in the comments. I can answer it right now. And just tell me hello because I like to know that you're listening. So who am I? My name is Stacy Mayer, and I am a promotion strategist and executive coach for corporate managers. I help powerhouse corporate managers just like you get promoted into senior level executive positions. And I am on a mission to bring more diversity to the leadership table by giving managers the tools to get themselves promoted into those senior executive leadership positions. So let's see. I just had someone say hi. Hi, Kim. Welcome. I can't see the names. I just got the little thumbs up. So, hey, great to see you. So in today's episode, I'm answering the question about executive presence. So we've heard about this a lot, right? Like this has been, when they talk about women's leadership, and what I like to call it is like minority leadership, because I'm really focused on, yes, we need more women at the leadership table, but we also need more men and more diversity in general at the leadership table, different ways of thinking, different ways of being. Hi, David. Great to see you here. And one of the things that comes up a lot is this idea of executive presence. Like the way that you get into a senior executive leadership position is through having executive presence. And the way I like to look at it is I believe that you get into a senior executive leadership position by becoming the executive. So, what is the subtle difference between acting like an executive and becoming the executive ahead of time? It's three things: communication, communication, and communication. So, what do I mean by this? It's all about communication. So, how are you communicating? So, a great example is when you're having weekly check ins with your boss, are you communicating to your boss as the subject matter expert, or are you communicating to your boss as an executive leader? So, this is a change that you make to your leadership style right now. It's not pretending, right? You just literally shift the way that you're communicating. And so, what does that look like? When you're communicating like a subject matter expert, it looks like going through your scorecard. Like, what's the strategy of all the projects that I'm working on? Like, what's the status? It's a status update. I'm telling them all the details, maybe going into a little bit too many details. And what does it look like when you're communicating to your boss in your weekly check ins as an executive? You're talking about the vision, you're giving them the overall picture, the overall point of view. We're still on track for XYZ. These are the problems that I'm coming up against, and this is what I'm trying to do to solve it. And this is what I need from you. So that is what executive communication looks like in terms of having a conversation with your boss. Executive communication in a leadership team meeting looks a little bit like this. And like I said, I want to make sure that you guys actually apply this to your way of speaking now, like your way of communicating right now. And it looks like when you're communicating as a manager or a middle manager without the executive presence, it looks like you wait to be called on. You don't interject. You don't want to cause too much trouble. Like you don't want to give too many opinions. Oftentimes, it looks like you're to yourself. This is what it feels like: is that you had the best idea and somebody else said it first, and then you didn't really know how to say anything, so you just kind of let the time pass. So, what does it look like to become the executive ahead of time in leadership team meetings? It looks a little bit more like you know what your goal is before the meeting. So you actually know what you want to get out of the meeting. And if it's like, I want to be engaged in the conversation, then you make sure that you're engaged in the conversation. If you don't have something to add, you ask a question. You stay present. When they call on you, when it does come to you, then you tie it in again to the overall vision, to the bigger goal, to what's actually happening at the organization, to the overall project that you're working on, right? So, like the bigger vision rather than just giving like a quick check in, just like you would with your boss. So, that is what I mean. The other thing that's a super cool tip is that you communicate. Oh, I know what. When somebody else says something, you bring it back around. You say, just like Sally said earlier, something like that, because it's tying it all together. It's painting the vision. So that's how you become and communicate as the executive ahead of time in team meetings. And then the third thing is that, do you have a vision? Do you have a path? Do you care about working at this company? Does it matter to have you in a senior executive leadership position? And if the answer is yes, then you're communicating that to other people. So you have mentors on the leadership team. You're having very proactive conversations with people about what it's actually going to take to get you into that senior executive leadership position. So I really want you to think about this as very active ways that you are showing up and communicating in your day-to-day job, not just pretending. Like, sometimes when I think about executive presence, I think about it like literally like I have to sit up taller. I have to make sure I sit at the front of the room. I have to be very open, right? And all of those things are really good things. But honestly, I just want you to become the executive. I want you to start acting like an executive. What would an executive say in this meeting? What would an executive do in their meetings with the boss? And what would an executive do in terms of how they're communicating about their career aspirations and what they want to accomplish at your particular organization? So that is how you actually turn executive presence into action. Marshall, I hope this question or this answer to your question was beneficial. And if you were listening to today's broadcast and you want to take this work even deeper, today is the last day to enroll for my executive ahead of time group coaching program. We actually kick off our first coaching call this afternoon. So it's not too late to join us in that program. And when you do join, you can actually get the recordings for all of the modules and do it at your own pace. I put the link in the thing, but as I talked about today, it's so important to really embody your own leadership and become that executive ahead of time. You may not know what it takes today, but in the course of the next 6 weeks, you're going to figure out and actually put into action what it's going to take to get you personally into that senior executive leadership position. So I hope to see you on the coaching call later this afternoon. Otherwise, have a wonderful week, and I'll be right back here next week with another edition of Your Promotability Factor. Bye.